Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot. And today we are doing, I believe it's a decently new tag. I just saw it, but it is the, oh my gosh. Did I even check what the name was? Okay, I know the concept. It's like a deck reconnect put out by Logan from Larkin Legend. I'm gonna go check and see what the actual tag name was. Didn't think to do that. Okay, yes, quite literally called the Deck Reconnect. So the idea behind this tag is to show decks that you are really looking to reconnect with in the new year. So this can be decks that you've had for a bit, that maybe you used a bunch in the past and just kind of haven't used in a while, or decks you've had and you've not gotten to get to know yet, or I think can be kind of newer decks that you've not gotten the chance to get to know. So we're just connecting with decks here. But I loved the idea of this tag. I actually saw that Kelly Bear put up a video either today or yesterday, I was watching it today, where she did a video at the beginning of this current year talking about decks she wanted to really spend time with, and now she's doing a recap showing how that went, basically. So I thought it was just such a fun idea, so I'm really excited to do this tag, and hopefully we'll revisit by the end of this coming year to see how that goes. But anyway, I think we should just get into the decks. So we're starting out with decks I've had for a while that I want to reconnect with, and then we'll move on to decks that are newer to me that I really want to get to know in this next year. So first up, we've got the Pagan Otherworlds. I've had this one for quite some time now, and I mean, it's a fan favorite, right? Rightfully so. This is a really beautiful deck. The artwork is gorgeous, the quality is gorgeous, and I really do like it. I like how spacious and airy it feels. It really does give a very particular kind of reading for me. It feels like, I don't know what other way to explain it than it just has this like nice breathing room almost. It feels kind of fresh. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. So while I've had this deck for a while and love this deck, it's just not one that I use that often, and I'm not exactly sure why. And so I really want to make the effort this year to have this one pulled out and to just utilize it more, because I really think this could be such a favorite for me if I really just thought to use it. I think it's one that just gets a little bit lost in the shuffle. I don't know. It's different than my usual style of deck I lean towards, so I think that could be it as well. But I think that's also just a natural thing to happen. I do consider myself a bit of a tarot collector. I do aim to collect to use, you know, bar maybe one or two that I have for like sentimental reasons. But regardless, I've got quite a few decks and I love trying out new ones. So inevitably there are going to be decks that get kind of lost in the shuffle a bit. But I love this idea of really taking notice of that and just being conscious about it and pulling out decks I've had for a bit to connect with them. And this is really one of those that I always think I want to do that with. So we're really gonna, I'm gonna try this. So the thing too, okay, here's my other thoughts, is that the other challenge I suppose I face with this kind of thing is that with an ADHD brain, it is out of sight, out of mind, quite truly. So I've even gone to the extent, I used to have this in a bag, I put it back in its box so that I would see the box, but I think, you know, if it's away, sometimes there's some decks I just kind of forget about. So this handful, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but my goal is to keep them out and in my line of vision because that's really how it's gonna work for me. So I guess that to say, if you are also thinking of doing this and kind of just struggle to remember you have some things, maybe just try and keep them out if you can. I don't know. Is that really advice? I don't know. Anyway, next up we've got the Antique Anatomy. Now, what's really funny, actually, we'll do the next one after, because these next two decks are reconnections in just a really kind of, I don't know, I think it's funny. It brings me some sense of joy that I cannot explain, but the Antique Anatomy and the deck we'll see next are decks that I think were quite literally my second and third ever tarot decks. Like I've mentioned, I spent a long time with just the Cat Tarot. Interesting choice on my part, but love it all the same. And then we decided to move right on to the next deck and this one. And at the time, it was too much. I didn't understand, especially with this deck here, it being a pip style deck. I wasn't at the level of reading where I could utilize that well. So pictures or very illustrated images were still important to me to kind of sense out the meaning of the cards. So this deck was really, really difficult for me, having gotten it early on into learning tarot. So I ended up gifting it to a friend. And this past year, I just became really interested in pips, and they became much easier for me to read, so I ended up repurchasing this one this year, and I'm so glad I did because I love this deck. I actually have, hold on, this is my secondary copy. I also have, this is actually the first one I got, so what prompted me to repurchase the deck was really to follow along with this mod that Don Michelle at Boho Tarot did, which I love, and it really made me fall in love with this deck, and it was such a fun project, and really just, at the time I did it, was something I just needed. It was so much fun to spend pretty much a whole weekend just doing this mod. So I love this copy of the deck I have. I do still use it. It's just not the easiest to shuffle, and I didn't glue some things down super well, so things kind of peel off the more I use it. So since I love the deck so much, I got a second used copy, I think from eBay or something, which is this one. So I don't have to worry about, you know, ruining any of my artwork, I guess you could say. I suppose you could call it artwork. Stickers, really. But yeah, this is one I really love. I've been going through and trying to find out what each of the flowers are, look into the meaning behind the flowers, because I think for some of the cards it does relate, which I just think is interesting. I know they're not necessarily meant to, but I find that really interesting, and seeing where maybe it does. So it's been a really fun way to use this deck, but it is a reconnection for me because, ooh, lost my train of thought. This one still is, like, decently new back into my collection, and I've not gotten to the chance to use it too much since reacquiring it. But it's cool bringing this back in with a whole different lens around tarot, and just knowing tarot a lot better, and how differently I can read with this now versus getting it when I was first learning. So that is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. And next up, the other deck, I actually repurchased this maybe a month ago now, probably maybe less. It is the Jane Austen Tarot. This is the one you can currently get. I know there's one that was put out by Los Scarabeo or something like that a long time ago, which is beautiful, but I also love this one. This was my second ever deck because I love Jane Austen. However, I did not know enough about anything to realize that this is not your average tarot deck. It is a 53 card deck, so it is based around playing cards, and some of the tarot cards are pretty much combined into one card. So there are no separate majors, for example. They are just, like the moon is also the 8 of hearts here. So as you can imagine, as someone just learning to read tarot, that was so confusing. That I had the cat tarot, which was like one setup, and then the Jane Austen, which was a totally different one. It was just way too confusing. So I actually gifted this to the same friend, I think. And I don't know, I saw it in Barnes & Noble the other week and really just wanted to get it again. It is such a beautiful deck and just feels like a comfort to me because I suppose of that history I have with it. But I feel, again, just better equipped to read this deck now versus when I had it around the first time. So I'm really, really excited to reconnect with this one, especially since, I mean, I have only had it for a few weeks now, but it's so beautiful. Even just looking through the pictures, it brings me so much joy. But that is the Jane Austen Tarot. Let's see. Okay. Next up, we've got the Victorian Fairy Tarot. Now, this is a deck I love, so I feel like this might be surprising to hear, and it's not to say that I haven't used this one a bunch. I really, really did, especially back in the spring. But I don't know. For some reason just stopped using this deck so much, and for the past few months I have not brought it out at all. And this is one I really, really love. I think there's a lot I can get out of these images. It's so beautiful. It just feels like such a treasure sometimes that I wonder if that's why I don't bring it out. But this is one I really have a desire to get very bonded with. And I don't feel like we're there yet, so that's why I've included it in this video. Part of it, I do think, is that the copy I have is rather strangely bowed. I've been working on fixing it a little bit, but it was like bowed on a diagonal when I got it. Which, usually any sort of bowing does not bother me, but it was so extreme that I think it actually was. Which is kind of strange, because really, that usually does not... I don't really care about that too much. But yeah, I think this is one I just need to keep out. I think if it was in my line of sight, I would pull it out all the time. I really love this deck, and it just feels like me. Like, this deck feels so me that I just really want to have a bond with this one. I feel like this could be on the same level for me as the Forest of Enchantment. Part of me wonders if maybe they just have a similar feeling to me, but I don't think so. I do think they fill unique spaces, but we shall see. We're gonna make definitely a good effort with this one because it's such a special one. So that is the Victorian Fairy Tarot. If anyone has any, I feel like I ask this every time I show it, if anyone has any tips though on fixing bowing, definitely let me know. That would be wonderful. I really think that's all it could be. I have no idea, but perhaps. Alrighty. We've got 2 more tarots and then an oracle, and then we're going to move on to some newer decks that I feel like are ones that you just kind of have to put some time into. Anyway, keeping on with this, we've got the Tarot Avatara. This is such a special deck. This is put out by Gabby Angus West. It's such a beautiful deck. The quality is just like nothing else. And so this deck follows the story of... Oh my gosh. Why am I blanking? I ask why I'm blanking as if I don't do that constantly. Frida Kahlo, oh my gosh. Who is an artist I really, really love. And I think her story is so interesting. But even beyond that, like even if you're not familiar with Frida Kahlo, these images are just, I don't know, they're so striking and they really bring out so much emotion. The guidebook as well. The guidebook is written as if it's like diary entries. And something about that is just, I don't know, it gives such amazing, intense for sure, for me, readings. And I really, really want to spend some time this one and spend time learning this one. And I think the only reason I haven't so far is because this deck just feels really summery to me. And I got this one, I think, towards the end of the summer, so I think that might really be the only reason, but I really want to put some time. Not to say that I feel like I'm only going to use this in the summer. I think it's just, you know how it goes. When you go from summer to fall, to me, I'm like, in the fall time, I'm like, we are using my Halloween tarots, my fall decks only. Like, I just get so excited for that time of year that anything that feels slightly summery to me, I'm like, it's a no-go. But this one, I really want to keep it out to get to know and do readings with. Because I know it's such a special one. And Gabby Angus West did do a pre-order of her oracle, the Word of Sarah Howard. I don't know how you pronounce that, but, and so I did pre-order that, and I'm really excited for that to come in as well. I have no idea when that is happening. I'm sure we were told, and I just don't remember. But anyway, Tarot Avatara. Beautiful deck. Alright, the last tarot I have to show in this kind of old friends category, you could say, is the Victorian Romantic Tarot. Yes. Yes. That's what it's called. Now, this is one I was so excited to get. I really, really was. And it's one that I am happy I own, but for some reason, I just am never really pulled to read with it. And I think sometimes I have a harder time connecting with these kind of, I've heard them referred to as like high art decks, but to me it's kind of like, I call them like art museum decks. Because you could see these like as paintings framed in the Met or something like that. I tend to have a hard time connecting with those kinds of decks, and so I've learned to not really bring that sort of deck in anymore. But this was one that I just felt really, really drawn to. And it is so beautiful. I mean, there is something to be said about the just craftsmanship of Baba Studios. And it's kind of also one of those ones that if it ends up being like a collector's item almost, I'm alright with that, but I know I felt really drawn to it, and I think that could be for a reason, and so I think it's just that I need it to be in my face, out and ready to go, and I think I can really connect with this one, especially now that I have pretty much narrowed it down, I think, to where this is, I think it's the only deck I have that I would say fits into that category. So it does hold a unique space in my collection. Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful. I really do love this one. We just have not bonded, but I've not put much time into doing so. So this is the Victorian Romantic Tarot, and we are definitely going to spend some time together this next year. Alrighty, last but not least, in the old friends category, that's what we're going to call it, is the one oracle I have, and that is the Prairie Majesty Oracle, which forever, I feel like, I swore up and down this was like my favorite oracle of all time. And it still is a favorite, but I feel like pretty much this whole year I have barely pulled this one out to read with. And especially since I got in the prototype and now the like fully done version of Kara's latest oracle, Song of the Grandmothers, which I love. I feel like that one has sort of stolen the show a little bit. But this deck is it's different, you know, it's set up much differently from that one, and I do think that the way I used to work with this deck would still really benefit me, where I used these questions you get at the top as guidance for the rest of the reading. I really do love this deck. I think it's just that, you know, there's been new shiny things that I've been wanting to use, and so this one has fell a bit to the wayside, but it's one I love. I'm sure it's one I'm always gonna love. So I want to make sure it has its time in the sun again. So that is the Prairie Majesty Oracle, which is so cool that you can get it mass market now. This is my indie edition. I do have the mass market version that is at work for Rachel and I to share. But I really do want to reconnect with this one. So that is all I have for my old friends. I'm going to pause here. I'm making it a real effort to not make a huge mess today, which is different for me. Usually I just pull everything out at once, but we're going to pause, put away these, and then bring out my pile of new friends that I definitely want to put some time into getting to know. Alrighty, we've got 4 decks to share in this section that I've gotten within the last few months, I would say, that are ones that I feel like, while I can kind of read with them off the bat, I would say, there is a lot of substance to them that I feel like is worth me really sitting with and going through, I guess you could say. So the first in this category is the Pythonic Tarot. This deck is super cool. I love the artwork, first of all. But the guidebook is really in-depth and has so many different associations in it. I think there's like crystals, there's divine energy associations. Like here we have Kali. So I just feel like, I don't know, and beyond that, the meanings of the cards kind of go a bit in their own direction in a way that is just so interesting. And so this is one to me that feels like a single card draw kind of deck for a bit until I can really get to know the cards. Well, you can, like, I feel like I can just kind of do a reading with it because I know the meanings behind the cards. I just, seeing these images, it's like you know that there's more behind it that I want to know. And so it's one that's kind of a slower read, one to really sit with, I feel, at least for me. And so I really, really want to spend time doing this. I actually use this one as my deck for my year ahead spread, which I'm very excited about. I think that's going to be a really cool use for it, since those are cards I'll sit with for a whole month. I really, really love this one. It's just sort of like, I have to wrap my head around it, you know? So that is the Pythonic Tarot. Next up, we've got the Annika Tarot. I love the size and shape of this one. Something about it is so satisfying. Now I know this is not a new deck in any way, shape, or form, but it is new to me. And I just became really drawn to the artwork. And the thing I always hear about this one is everyone feels like all of these people are just people they know, part of their family almost. And that kind of energy really interested me. And I totally get that feeling as well. And the thing with this one, and why I just really want to put some time into it, is that the guidebook is just really awesome. It gives kind of a different sort of perspective on the meanings, on the Smith-Waite meanings, especially when it comes to the court cards. I really want to spend some time with the court cards in this deck, because just the few that I've pulled and then read the entries for, it's like, oh my gosh, that finally makes sense. That makes sense in a way that's going to actually stick in my brain as like a solid energy to work with. So I'm really, really excited about this one. And it's also just so fun to shuffle. It's just like the best shape and size. I don't know what it is, but really excited about this one. That is the Anna K Tarot. Next we've got the Yokai Yochi, which is pretty new to me. The top is off. For anyone who got this latest print run, do you find that the box is very, very pressure fitted? I can never seem to get the top off of the box. Like, I have to shake the deck around. I don't know. I'm gonna make a bag for it so that I don't, end up ruining something by shaking the box so intensely. But anyway, this is such a beautiful deck. I'm so excited to have this one from this latest printing. And the reason I want to spend time with this is because all of these figures are pulled from Japanese folklore, which I'm so interested by. And it's one that I feel like could be so cool to even pull a single card and really look into that character and the folklore behind it and see, like, okay, where has this been translated even into other cultures or things of that sort, you know? But I do love reading with this deck. It's really, really a cool one. Very different for me as well. But it reminds me of, oh my gosh, some video game I was playing. Witchwood. The game Witchwood on the Switch, highly recommend. So much fun. But the art style reminds me of that for some reason. But yeah, this is one I'm really excited to spend time with and just get to know the stories of these characters. I love having that layer to the tarot cards. I just think it's so interesting and fun. So that is the Yokai Yochi. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm not exactly positive on that. Last but not least, we have a very brand new deck to me, like came in a few days ago kind of thing, and that is the second edition of the Meraki Tarot, which is another one that really kind of goes its own direction. First of all, the green edging. That is my favorite green. But I just feel like there is so many cool things going on in each of these images. Like, it feels like there's a lot of layers. There's an astrological layer, a crystal layer, an animal layer. It just feels so well done, and I'm really, really, really excited to get to know this one. It's one of those ones that I didn't end up backing this on Kickstarter. I ordered it when she put some up in her Etsy shop recently after fulfilling the Kickstarter orders. But seeing others get their deck in from Kickstarter, and so I got to see more of it that way, you know when you get the feeling of like, me and this deck we're gonna get along really well. Like, I feel like this could become a fast favorite. That's the feeling I got with this one. I remember loving it on Kickstarter too. I'm pretty sure the only reason I didn't back it was because I ended up backing the Walking Meditation Tarot, which ended at the same time, which is another deck that became such a fast favorite. I love that one so much. So it's kind of cool to, in a way, full circle and have this one now too, because it's interesting how they coincided in that way, I suppose. But yeah, really excited about this one. I just love the crystal layer to it. I don't work with crystals a ton, but I do think it's really interesting to have that in the tarot cards. And it's just so beautiful, isn't it? It's so different. I could look at these pictures all day long. Oh, so cool. Look at this. Might be my favorite Three of Wands ever. How cool is that picture? So, anyway, that is the Meraki Tarot, and that is the last one I have to share today. So, I would love to know if there are any decks you all are particularly looking to spend some time with in 2023. I think it's so fun. I'm loving the idea of this tag, and I can't wait to watch some more VRs to it. But Other than that, I hope you all have had a wonderful weekend, and I will see you again very soon.